I'm talking today to Tim Rimbui, who runs a Kenyan music studio called Innovative Music. Tim, why was it 13 years ago that Kenyans stopped listening to international music and started listening local?
I think it was a gamble by two producers, one Ted Josiah and another one Ogopa DJs, where they had this, at the time, really crazy idea that if you gave Kenyans something that was uniquely theirs and not totally throw out what they had accustomed themselves to, which is Western hip-hop and R&B, that mesh, that cocktail will create something that was truly unique. And their gamble was right. After that period of time, a lot of the music that came out and a lot of the content that came out was uniquely Kenyan, and there was a hunger and a thirst that was created for Kenyan content.
And those DJs were radio DJs?
They were actually a production outfit called Ogopa DJs, but they were actually not radio DJs. They were music producers. And I think because of being clever businessmen, they were able to create relationships with all the radio DJs. So a lot of their music went out and I'd say became the staple for the next 4 years, between 2000 and 2004, where all the popular local music was coming out of one production outfit. There was a guy called Ted Josiah. So between the two of them, they created, I'd say, the modern day foundation of a local Kenyan music scene.
So what music is in the Kenyan market now?
Right now, I mean, looking back 13 years ago, a lot has changed in that while you have your famous celebrity type artists who are hip-hop based or pop based, it has diversified. You have jazz singers, soul, R&B, Afro-pop, world music,
Benga,
Bengenge, which is like a mix of Benga and something else. There's electro and house and a lot of other genres that, because they're listened to by really small tribes of very loyal fans. I don't even know what to describe that sound. There's a huge rock scene here. So the sound of Kenya has changed over time.
And hip-hop is quite a dominant genre, isn't it? And what makes Kenyan hip-hop Kenyan?
The uniquely identifying factor about Kenyan hip-hop is the stories about life, primarily growing up in what I'd say the ghetto, because it's stories about struggling, whether you're trying to pay your rent or problem with the police or life not working out as you planned it, or
so the single landlordy.
Yeah, the single landlordy by Major, which came out 2-3 years ago, was one. I mean, it encapsulated what it was at the time, life for a young hustler. You're either out of school or you're trying to make things work, and the problems you try to go through trying to get that money to pay your landlord. So those are the kind of songs that I think have inspired a young generation of Kenyan music makers.
And how do musicians in Kenya make a living?
At 80% or slightly the larger portion of the revenues for musicians, at least the ones who do it 9 to 5, or that's their career option, is from live shows, whether it's clubs, festivals, or gigs. Nairobi has gone back to being a gigging city, so
there's a lot of live music here.
There's a lot of live music.
And how do you get known in a city like Nairobi?
I'd say the easiest way of getting known as a new musician right now is YouTube. Because of the barriers to access to YouTube are non-existent. All you need is a good internet connection and a good song and maybe a greater gimmick. I think that those three combined to create what I'd say is the perfect mix: a good gimmick, a good story, a good song. And that is normally the A&R route that a lot of young musicians are using to get discovered, because from YouTube you'll wind up on TV, then from TV, radio always plays up catch up. So, and SoundCloud is coming up, so I think online is where it's starting fast. And
there are no charts, are there, in the sense that you would understand in developed countries in Kenya, or are there? No music charts?
There are no music charts, which I think we go back to why there's been an opportunity in that market. If you compare the charts by probably the 5 leading radio stations, they're all different, meaning that it's preference-based chart ratings as opposed to a tally based on either sales or downloads. So I think the unifying rating system right now in the market is YouTube, which I know can be rigged, but a lot of people don't know that. So because on YouTube it will be very clear this song has 100,000 hits, so it is popular, so we will play it. So I'd say it's the closest we have to a non-biased,
some sort of validation.
Yeah, validation of the popularity of a young artist.
A lot of Nigerian musicians are now beginning to break out internationally. Are there Kenyan musicians who are sufficiently famous to be famous across the continent or famous internationally?
On the Kenyan scene, I think our biggest music exports so far have been, I think the younger audiences would be Camp Mula, who have an international recognition across from Southern Africa, Eastern and Western Africa.
Who are very traditional hip-hop.
They are hip-hop, pop, they could fit anywhere.
Yeah.
Then we have Sauti Sol, who are a mesh of like world music and Afro-pop, who are also creating good waves. We have Just a Band, who are, I mean, a phenomenal house electro collective, because I think they're more than just music, they're a lifestyle, if I could call it that. And then I think for an older audience it would be Eric Wanaina, who's, I mean, he stood the test of time. 20 years later he's still doing this, and his music he's recognized across the continent as a leading music luminary. So
those are the big acts.
Those are the big acts, and there's the numbers to prove.
Yeah.
To prove that.
And do the musicians that come to you to be produced, do they think internationally, or are they thinking just Kenya and East Africa? A
lot of the musicians I've worked with, at least in the last 1 or 2 years, what has actually been my calling card is ability to sell out of Kenya's borders, which is where, especially if you're looking at gigging, is where you should be. I mean, the local scene is good, but for the musicians I've worked with, Eric Wanaina, Atemi, Mathri, Susanna Owio, it's musicians who have been able to not only sell and tour here, but with out of Kenya. So I think a lot more artists and those who are focused more to doing this full time and for the rest of their lives are looking out of Africa.